Outside, the trees drag their leaves like nets to the depths of the air.
It is not marriage. It is not being one's husband to look strange like that. Always to be starting, laughing, sitting, telling me to write. The table drawer is full of those writings. Writings about war, about Shakespeare, how there is no death.
That man, his friend who was killed, Evans had come, he said. He was singing behind the screen. I wrote it down just as he spoke it. Some things are very beautiful, others sheer nonsense. And he was always stopping in the middle, changing his mind, wanting to add something.
Hearing something new, and once we found the girl who did the room reading one of those papers in a fits of laughter. It was a dreadful pity, for that made Septimus cry out about human cruelty, how they tear each other to pieces. Then there were the visions. He was drowned, he used to say, and lying on a cliff with the gulls screaming over him. He would look over the edge of the sofa down into the sea, or he was hearing music. Really, it was only a barrel organ or some man crying in the street. But lovely, he used to cry, and the tears would run down his cheeks. Which to me was the most dreadful thing of all, to see a man like Septimus, who had fought, who was brave, crying. And he would lie listening until suddenly he would cry that he was falling down, down into the flames.
What is the name of Mrs. Filmer's married daughter?
Mrs. Peters. She gave me grapes this morning. I'd come into the room the other evening and found Mrs. Peters playing the gramophone. She is a woman with a spiteful tongue.
What does Mr. Peters do?
Ah, just now he is in Hull.
Mrs. Peters has a spiteful tongue. Mr. Peters was in Hull. Why then rage and prophesize? Why fly scourged and outcast? Why be made to tremble and sob by the clouds? Why be made to tremble and sob by the clouds? Why seek truce and deliver messages when Rezia sat sticking pins into the front of her dress and Mr. Peters was in Hull? Miracles, revelations, agonies, loneliness, falling through the sea, down, down into the flames. All were burnt out, for I have a sense. It's too small for Mrs. Peters.
Of course it is. It's absurdly small, but Mrs. Peters chose it.
It's an organ grinder's monkey's hat.
How it rejoiced her that, not for weeks had they laughed like this together, poking fun privately like married people. If Miss Filmer had come in, or Miss Peters, or anybody, they would not have understood what she and Septimus were laughing at.
There.
Now the poor woman will look like a pig at the fair. She shall have a fine hat, but you must be very, very careful to keep it the way that I've left it.
There it is. That'll do for the moment. Later.
Just look at it. Try it on.
But I must look so queer.
Surrey was out today. There's a heat wave.
Surrey was out today. There was a heat wave.
He was alone, exposed on this black eminence, stretched out, but not on a hilltop, not on a crag, on Miss Filmer's sitting room sofa. As for the vision, the faces, the voices of the dead, where were they? There was a screen in front of him, with black bulrushes and blue swallows, where he had once seen mountains, where he had seen faces, where he had seen beauty. There was a screen.
Evans!
Everybody's plans are changed. Mrs. Filmer will not be able to go to Brighton after all. There is no time to let Williams know. Perhaps she might just make a little, ah, damn, we are perfectly happy now. For I can say anything to you now. That was almost the first thing I thought about you that night in the cafe. I knew you were American, though not one of the large American men my sister admired. I've never seen you wild or drunk. Only suffering through this terrible war. But even so, when I came in, you would put it all away. Being older than I was, and being so clever, how serious you were, wanting me to read Shakespeare before I could even read a child's story in English. Being so much more experienced, you could help me. And I could help you.
The people we are most fond of are not good for us when we are ill. Bradshaw said I must be taught to rest. Bradshaw said we must be separated. Must. Why must? What power has Bradshaw over me? What right has Bradshaw to say must to me?
It is because you talked of killing yourself.
So I am in their power. Holmes and Bradshaw are on me. The brute with the red nostrils is snuffing into every secret place. Must, it could say. Where are my papers, the things I've written? Burn them.
Some of them are very beautiful. Even if they take you, I will go with you. They cannot separate us against our wills.
As if her petals are about her, she is a flowering tree, and through her branches looked out the face of a lawgiver who had reached a sanctuary where she feared no one, not Holmes, not Bradshaw. A miracle, a triumph, the last and greatest.
There, nothing can separate us, my hawk. No one can separate us.
My lady, I've come as a friend.
No, I will not let you see my husband.
What? Like a little hen with her wings spread, barring the passage. Mrs. Filmer's bread knife with bread carved into the handle. Ah, but one mustn't regret that. The sun hot, only human beings, what do they want? I'll give it you.
You must be brave and drink something. Your husband is horribly mangled and will not regain consciousness. You must not see him, must be spared as much as possible. Sudden impulse. No one was in the least to blame. And why the devil who did it, I cannot conceive.
They wouldn't bring the body in here, would they?
He is dead. They wouldn't bring the body in here.
Oh no, they were carrying him away now. Ought you not be told? Married people ought to be together, but we must do as the doctor said.